All right. Good afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever it is you might be located today. My name is Tyrone Siren. I'm a partner here at Holborn Assets. And today I want to discuss the EB5 US Immigration Investment Program. So just a bit about myself. I started with Holborn Assets about 1.5 years ago. I head up the Immigration Investment Division in Asia, and I also help clients throughout the world. So my specialty is the EB5 US Immigration Program. Although, I'm happy to assist people with Europe and the Caribbean islands. As an American, it's something that I specialize in. It's something I've done for the past 13 years, full-time. This is my only career. And over that past 13 years, I've helped more than 1,000 families immigrate to the US. I've raised more than 1 billion USD for US investment programs. And I've been ranked as one of the top 100 CEOs, immigration agency CEOs in the world. And I can honestly say, without really any exaggeration, that there are only a few people in the world who've helped more people through the EB5 program than I have. So I'm really excited right now because what is happening in the EB5 world is really unprecedented. And there's an opportunity, a window of opportunity, if you will, to act now and save up to $500,000 by investing in the next couple of months. So let me explain a little bit about what the EB5 program is. The EB5 program is one of the, well, I just had a lawyer this morning, an EB5 lawyer explained to someone that it is the second easiest way to immigrate to the US, second only to marriage. So there's really no requirements for the EB5 program other than you have the right amount to invest, which we'll discuss after this. But the benefits you get from the EB5 program are so fast and so vast that there's really no other program in the world that can compare to it. That's why for the past 10 years, the US EB5 program has been the most popular immigration program in the world. Because what does it allow you? It allows you to live the American dream. You can live anywhere in the US that you want. You can travel in and out of the US anytime you want. Your children can attend school for free and get local tuition prices at university. In fact, I was just looking at the university I attended and worked on my PhD at. For a local student, it's about $13,000 a year. And for an international student, it's $36,000 a year. So, for a 4-year education, that would save you roughly $100,000 just by, going through the EB5 process and getting permanent residency. And it is permanent residency in that it lasts forever. Once you have it, once your spouse has it, and your children have it, it's forever. And it's a pathway to citizenship. So it's very quick. It'll also give you the rights to US healthcare. You can work, you can get a job anywhere you want, and start a business anywhere you want. And as well as you get the right to retire in the US and have any sort of government welfare or government-sponsored Social Security benefits once you're older. And plus, the US passport is still a very powerful passport. It allows you to travel visa-free to about 90% of the countries in the world. And it's the US still backs up its citizens, sometimes in better situations than others, as we've seen recently. But the US usually will help American citizens out when they're abroad and find themselves in some sort of trouble. And that's a pretty special aspect of the American passport. Now, again, when I mentioned that it's probably the easiest way to immigrate to the US, I would say it's probably even easier than marriage. In fact, because it only depends on yourself. It doesn't depend on another person. If you have $500,000. Now, I mean, of course, $500,000 is not a little bit of money. So that takes a bit of, a capital accumulation. But if you do have it, there are no other requirements. There's no business requirements, no language requirements. In fact, there's not even a requirement for you to stay in the US for any certain amount of time. Most countries in the world, if you compare Canada, Australia, they required you to spend like half your time in that country. We used to always joke in China and call it immigration jail, because you were forced to remain in the country, 6 months a year, or 3 years out of 5 years to maintain your residency. The U.S. doesn't have that. They do suggest that you show an intent to immigrate. Maybe get a cell phone. If your kids are going to school there, you should travel to the U.S. Once or twice a year, but there's no set requirement. So it's very flexible. And for I think a lot of people and a lot of our clients here at Holborn, that's really one of the major selling points, because if you have $500,000, it means that your job is going very well, your business is going very well, and you're probably not ready to pack up your bags and move to America tomorrow. So you need that flexibility. You need something that you can put on the horizon. You can get your green card, maintain it, and still, keep your job in Dubai, or you keep your business operating in South Africa, or keep your business in Vietnam, where I'm at today. So it's really the flexibility of the EB5 program, and the fact that although this is a business investment, you're not required to operate the business. It can be completely passive. And we work with some of the very best people in the industry who, have done hundreds, if not thousands, of EB5 programs. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars of EB5 money. They've returned all this money to their clients. So really, it's just, you kind of put your money, you park your money for a while in one of these projects, and you qualify for an EB5 green card. So typically, it takes between 2 to 3 years to get approved for an EB5 project. However, and I'm very excited about this, our current project got awarded what is called expedited processing, which will allow you to get approved in probably less than 1 year. In fact, the U.S. immigration attorney I was speaking to this morning, he feels that in the current climate in the U.S., you'll probably get approved in 3 to 4 months. So imagine that if we started today, gathering your documents, getting your money together, I would say that takes about 2 months. Then if it's 3 months to approval, really, by January, February, you could be landing in the U.S. as a permanent resident and on a pathway to citizenship if that's what you wanted to. So our project currently, which I'm going to discuss, does qualify for this expedited processing. This is something I worked on with the project developer for the past 2 years. It was a very long, arduous process. Lawyers were involved for over 2 years. They spent a tremendous amount of time and energy to get this approval, because only 3 other projects in the history of the EB5 program, and there have been over 1,000 EB5 projects, have ever gotten expedited processing that I'm aware of. And I'm aware of, I think, almost every project that has ever come to be in EB5. So here's the award letter, or the approval letter rather. And it just says that our project is of such importance to U.S. society that the U.S. government is going to expedite your EB5 application, or what we call a petition. So that means basically you're going to get to the front of the line. Right now, there are about 90,000 people waiting in line for the EB5 green card, if you can imagine that. About 50,000 from China, another 10,000 from Vietnam, and 20, 30,000 from other countries in the world. But this if you invest into our project, you automatically jump to the front of the line. So it's really an amazing opportunity. Now, to bring all this together, and why I'm so excited about doing EB5 again, is that not only do we have this fast track project that allows you to possibly be a permanent resident of the U.S. in the next 6 months, but something happened 2 months ago with the EB5 program. And let me just give a little bit of background and context to this. So the EB5 program started in 1990, and the price was 500,000 USD. Now, the price never changed all the way until 2019. So, for almost 30 years, the price never went up. And, at 500,000, you can understand why the program was so popular. It was very reasonably priced. It was very affordable for a lot of upper middle class and wealthy people. But in 2019, President Trump raised the price from $500,000 to $900,000. Now, whatever you might think of Trump or former President Trump, there's one thing I think everyone can agree on, is that he was not big on process and procedure. He kind of just liked to get things done, make orders and just, he wanted action. And to that, what ended up happening is when he raised the price to 900,000, he did not follow proper legislative procedures or administrative procedures. So once the Biden administration came into power, through a course of some lawsuits and some legal battles, the Biden administration had to lower the price back to 500,000. So what a great opportunity this is. I would say it's a once in a generation opportunity. However, the Biden administration just last week filed forms to say that they are going to raise this price back to 900,000. Now, we don't have a definite deadline about when they might do this, but talking to legal experts and people who've been in the industry for some time and understand, Washington, D.C. politics and the legislative process, they feel that we probably have until about the end of this year. So early next year, the price will probably go up to 900,000. So once again, I think that this is a project that is exclusive to Holborn assets. These are smaller projects, as you'll see, and there's just never been a better time to apply for EB5 because we're fast tracked and it's 500,000. So if you or your family have been considering EB5 or a U.S. green card, permanent residency for over the years, then this is really has to be the moment that you act on it, because it'll never be this fast and cheap again. So what is the actual project? The project is called the Kathy Ireland Recovery Centers. And again, this has been approved as an expedited project. Now, a little bit about Kathy Ireland and what the projects are. Kathy Ireland in the 1980s was one of the top fashion models in the US. But since then, she's grown basically a business empire that includes fashion, health, and wellness. And in fact, today, I think she really is, in America, she's kind of the face of beauty and health. She's very much into developing international and global health. She sponsors a lot of women and children's health, HIV and AIDS education. And particularly her new project is what are called recovery centers. And here's two. Recovery centers are basically drug rehabilitation centers for those people who became addicted to prescription pain medications over the past 10 years. You might have heard of something called the opioid crisis in the US, and it truly is a crisis. In 2020 alone, the rate of overdoses in the US went up 30%, and every day in America, 255 people die of a drug overdose. And the majority of these drug overdoses are not sometimes what I think people imagine. These are not hardened criminals, in back alleys doing illegal drugs. Almost all of these drug overdoses are from prescription pain medications. So, people who maybe got hurt on the job, which actually that's 90% of them, they got hurt on the job and they were prescribed prescription medication and they became dependent on this prescription medication. So this is the market that the US government feels must be served. I hate to, it sounds so crass to say this is a market, but it truly is. This is the community and the people that need to be served, because it really is a matter of life and death. So this is the reason that the US government said, okay, we are going to fast track anybody's green card who applies into these projects. So our projects are located in West Virginia, which is considered the epicenter of the opioid crisis in the US. There's two projects located in Charleston and Morgantown, two clinics rather. Here's a picture of each state. They're both very beautiful cities. West Virginia is a very beautiful state. And the reason it became an epicenter for the opioid crisis is that it also is a state that was very dependent on coal mining. And the coal mines have shut down mostly in the past 10 to 20 years. And it left a lot of people unemployed and also disabled and quite a lot of pain because it was a very hard job. So over the years, they became dependent on these prescription legal medications. And so the US government has chosen, along with our partners at Cathy Ireland recovery centers, that these are the locations that most need the recovery centers right now. Now, that being said, they plan to build about 200 of these across America in the next 2 years. This is our second phase of the EB5 project. And
Tyrone, excuse me for interrupting
yes.
you. We have a problem. Can you check that you are sharing screen? Because we don't see the presentation of the PDF.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, that's how about now?
Yes, we can see it now. Yes.
Oh boy, well, that was
no problem.
Embarrassing mistake. All right, well, let me just back up just a little bit. So this is Cathy Ireland, and again, she's these are some of the clinics that they've already built in West Virginia and in the city of Boston. This is a bit about the opioid crisis here. And here's the actual location for the clinics. They're located in, as you can see here, in West Virginia, which is a couple hours drive from New York City, a few hours drive from Chicago, so kind of right in the heartland of the US. So here's two photographs you can see. They're quite, it's quite a beautiful place. As I mentioned, there was a lot of coal mining there. But they really are in need of treatment centers and recovery centers. So this current project will invest into 2 existing recovery centers, 2 different types, in 2 different locations. One will be what is considered an outpatient recovery center, and the other will be a long-term stay-in recovery center. So one will be for people to visit, for meetings and for therapy during the day. They walk in, they walk out for a couple hours. The other will be a stay-in for 2 to 3, for 1 month to 2 months to 3 months. So we purchased these clinics. I shouldn't say we. The developers purchased these clinics, and they will be refurbishing these, building them out, expanding them, and updating them and modernizing them. So a little bit of why we should choose these investment projects. First of all, the team of people are quite excellent. The Cathy Ireland group, along with their management partners, have opened 45 of these clinics already across the US in 23 different states. So it truly is a national group. And over the next 2 years, they plan to open in, I think, almost every state in the US. Our partner who's going to actually manage the EB5 project and process, he has done more than 380 EB5 investments with 100% approval, and and he's in the process of returning a lot of that money to investors now. Now, as far as a business model goes, we have to kind of put aside our emotional instincts towards the opioid crisis and addiction and treatment. But from an actual just business point of view, these are really good businesses, because 85% of all the patients that get care here, receive the services and check in and get care, are paid for by the US government. So the US government is going to pay for 85%. Private insurance pays for an additional 10%. And then the remaining 5% is paid by individuals with cash. So it's a very, very stable business model in that the payments are quite stable, because the US government is paying for all of these. And the US government has made this a priority in the budget. So there's quite a lot of money there to pay for all of these. Now, on top of that, let's see, it's so on top of that, they've also secured a lot of bank financing for this project, which is very important because this bank has done a lot of business and vetting. And sorry about that. We're currently in lockdown in Vietnam, so we have some domestic issues right now. But so the bank has fully vetted this project. It will be loaning over about $5 million to the project. And the other important thing about EB5 is that it's about job creation, because that's why it's such a popular program, is that you create jobs for American citizens, and as a reward, you get an EB5 green card. So these two clinics will create 121 jobs, and the job requirement for all 11 investors is only 110. So we actually have quite a large buffer of jobs created. So the process for EB5 is actually quite smooth and quite simple. The EB5 investment is $500,000, and that's a requirement set by the US government. And all $500,000 has to go into the project. So, you know, every single penny is accounted for by the US government and has to be shown by the project manager that it is being spent on the project. So, you know, the money cannot be misused to, you know, buy cars or you know, take vacations or anything like that. The government actually demands accounting for every single dollar. So on top of that, there's what's called an administrative fee. The $60,000 is used by the program managers basically to manage the EB5 side of the program. So that money is, once you gather it up, is transferred to an escrow account in the US. And then when you're, after working with your attorney for about 2 months, you will file what is called an I-526. So basically you'll submit your application to the US government. And if it's approved, you know, of course, then it's about a 5-year period until you get your money back. And it will take 3 months. Again, we're estimating that'll take about 3 months to get an approval. If now, for any reason that it is denied, you will get all of the money back. So, you know, we have that security in there. But, you know, our partners have more than 100% approval rate. And also, actually, the EB5 program, again, another reason why it's so popular is that the general EB5 approval rate is quite high. It's around 90%. And for any immigration program, that's amazing. It doesn't matter what country you're talking about, a 90% approval rate. So, and that's really because I have to say that over the years, you know, I've spent 13 years now in EB5, that everyone has gotten a lot better at EB5. The project developers, the EB5 managers, the EB5 lawyers, even the US government has gotten better at it. So everyone knows what to expect. They know how to build the project so that everyone is successful. And so the denials are not very common at all. But in the case that they are, that you do get a refund. Now, on top of that, there is a return on the investment because again, this isn't a government donation and you know, you're not buying a green card. This is an investment and you do receive an annual return. The return is up to 1% and the money is kept for 5 years. So after 5 years, there's an incentive for the project to return your money or else it turns into a very interesting investment on its own. So after 5 years, if the money is not returned, then the annual rate goes up to 5%. In year 6, it would go up to 6%. In year 7, it would go up to 7%. So you can see, and then they will return the money. So although you know this, it's a reasonable market return in EB5, because typically what we see in EB5 investment projects is that you know, we look for stable, secure projects and capital preservation. Projects that will create a lot of jobs that are required for you to get your green card, and a project that can return the money to you in 5 years. You know, so we build that into the process. So finally, I'll hit some of the highlights again, and then maybe we can move on to the questions and answers. First of all, from immigration point of view, the EB5 visa it's a fast track right now. It's a fast track to U.S. permanent residency. It's one of the most U.S. permanent residency is one of the most coveted residency permits, permanent residencies in the world. And again, you're just 5 years away from becoming a U.S. citizen. It gives you full access to basically U.S. society. You can do everything in America that an American citizen could, except for vote. But if you've seen who we've put up to vote for the last few years for president, you're probably not missing out on much. But it gives your children free access to public education, local tuition rates. You have access to what really is one of the best medical systems in the world, and insurance for that. And you can live and work anywhere in the U.S. There's no requirement for you to relocate there permanently immediately. There's a lot of flexibility, which I think is key, particularly in this new global world where people are working in different places. And then as far as the project itself, we have globally renowned partners. I mean, Kathy Ireland is literally one of the more famous female entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general in America right now. And she's putting her name on this and her management team. As an investment, we have defined exit strategies with incentives for them to pay you back on time. And it's really the expedited processing. Imagine getting through the entire immigration process in 3 months. I don't know if there's another immigration program in the world that it's capable to get any sort of immigration documentation in 3 months. So. And then just as general business, unfortunately, these recovery centers are in great demand in the U.S. right now. So there is a huge market for it. And the U.S. government is going to cover the bill for this, basically pay for this. So, in order for these recovery centers to qualify for this government support, of course, there's been a lot of due diligence on the projects themselves, on the partners, on the investments. And so, as an investor, the U.S. government is not investing directly into these projects with you, but the U.S. government is basically investing into the patients and into the supply of the business itself, so that you have a lot of confidence that these are secure projects. So that's really just kind of a brief interview now. All right, sorry, a brief introduction to the EB5 program, to our current project. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to get started right away, because this is really it's a very unique time that the price is back at 500,000. Nobody ever anticipated this. I thought it would be at 900,000 for the next 20 years, but we have a few months to do it now. And it's and then particularly with an expedited project like this, this current project has 11 investment slots. I think we've sold about 6 of these now. The first phase that had 6 positions is sold out. So, these are moving very quickly as people around the world realize this really is the last best chance to immigrate to the US through the EB5 program. So with that, thank you. And I will try to answer some of your questions here. I see we have a few in the chat group and maybe a few questions and answers. Okay. All right. So one of the questions we have is, who qualifies for the EB5 visa? And as I mentioned earlier, basically everyone in the world does qualify for it. All countries are welcome. I think North Korea might be the only country that doesn't, that is on the list that doesn't qualify. Who qualifies in the family? It's you and your spouse and children under the age of 21. And America does accept same-sex marriages, so and same-sex couples. So it's one of the countries that does allow that. So it's a great, it is welcoming. Let's see. Okay, so at what stage do you get the green card? Well, that's a great thing, right away. So with this particular expedited project, even when I'm being very conservative, I will say that you will get approval in less than a year, and you will get a green card right away. It'll be called a conditional green card, but that conditional green card will give you all the same rights and privileges as a permanent green card holder and a U.S. citizen. The only reason it has conditions on it is for the first 21 months, you have conditions. And then at 21 months, your lawyer will submit an application or submit a petition to the federal government saying and showing that you created jobs with your money. So at 21 months, your lawyer shows that your money is still invested in the EB5 project, and that that you created jobs. And our projected projections show that the jobs will easily be created, and the money will still be invested at that time. But you'll actually get your green card in about I'm going to say less than a year. The lawyer this morning told me 3 months, and I do trust him. And then and then in a year and a half, basically 2 years, you'll get full permanent residency. Okay. Any more questions? Let's see here. Again, with the return of money, let's go back to this. It's typically a 5-year investment period. This is standard in the EB5 market. So at that point, they'll return the money either at 5 years or when you get your full permanent green card with conditions removed. So, but that process is typically 5 years. Again, we're working with EB5 partners who have done this many times and have returned money to investors. I've seen, I think I'm up to about 400 people who've got their money back now, 400 investor families, and the other ones are still in process. So, and I have confidence that they will get repaid. So it's really a program that works very well. All right. How certain is the fund return? Are there risks of default or any cases of defaults in the past? Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. It's an important question, right? Because $500,000, even though the price has been reduced from $900,000, is still a lot of money, and it's an investment, so you should expect to get it back. So you always have to state this because it's one of the first lines in EB5 law that all investments must be at risk. But that does not mean that we have to make risky investments. The reason it says that, and what it actually means, is that they don't want people just buying $500,000 worth of real estate. They want the money to be invested into a business that creates jobs, and benefits American society, right? So, but that being said, there is some risk, like any business, that there will be risks, and that's why I've chosen to work with people very established, not just in the EB5 world, but in this particular case, best in industry, recovery center companies that are established and very sophisticated and done this many times, and then also that there's incentives for them to return the money on time to you. So up until this point, I mean, these partners I've worked with have returned money to people, and given that the U.S. government is going to be paying for 85% of all the patients in these recovery centers, it's a very stable income. It's a very stable income business. So I think being able to return your money within 5 years is a very reasonable proposition, and I think it's actually an excellent chance that they will get the money returned on time. All right, let's see. Oops. So any more questions here? Well, again, as far as timeline goes, someone just popped up. Well, what are the risks for this particular business with recovery centers? In fact, it was just yesterday I read the family there's this company called Purdue Pharma, and there's a family named the Sackler family that started this company, and they're actually considered there's actually a Netflix special about this whole story if you're interested and you have Netflix. They just were ordered to pay another $3.2 billion yesterday. And that money will be funneled into these types of programs and projects. That's along with, I think there's about 20 or 30 billion more dollars that's being recovered from these drug companies. These drug companies actually actively engaged in bad practices by purposely addicting people. In fact, if you do have to watch that Netflix special, you'll see that once they realized they had a good percentage of Americans addicted to these drugs, they actually had a plan to start opening up recovery centers. But yeah, so as far as government funding drying up, I don't see government funding drying up for this anytime soon, because right now they have enough funding for the next 5 or 6 years just through money that's been recovered from these pharmaceutical companies. And again, the government Medicaid. So the government health insurance actually pays for this. So basically everyone qualifies for that. So it wouldn't be funding necessarily for these clinics, but it's actually an insurance covered, health related issue. So in that sense, it's not that money would run out at these centers. It's actually covered by US government insurance. So as long as the US government insurance doesn't run out, then, there's no reason that there wouldn't be fun or that patients wouldn't have money to check into these clinics. All right. All right, let's see. Another question here. Is there any long-term contract between the recovery centers and the US government? No, there's not exactly, no. Again, how this works is that these particular recovery centers qualify for US government insurance called Medicaid. So that means that anybody who checks into this, they can use their Medicaid, their US government health insurance to pay for this. Now, only certain hospitals and clinics qualify for this. So it's basically an open check by the people check. It's basically every person in America has the right to check into this, and the US government will pay for it. So there's not an actual direct contract between the US government and the recovery centers. It's more like there's a contract between the US government and the individuals in America that they have medical insurance that they can use for this particular service, for this medical service. Okay, if let's see any more questions. Okay, as far as one more, as far as again, what sort of time frame we have to get things started, all best guesses right now are that we have until about the end of this year at the $500,000 mark. So it usually takes about 2 months to get all of your documents together. One of the important things with this program is not just that you gather the documents and that you have 500,000, but you have to show a bit about where you got that money. If you made the money through salary, if you made it from selling a piece of real estate. So it takes a little bit of time to gather up the documents. It's not that difficult, but it just takes a little bit of time. And so that process will take about 2 months. We're in early September now. So by early November, I think we could submit your application or your petition to the U.S. Immigration Services. And if, my U.S. attorneys who have much more experience than I do are correct, it should be, a 3 or 4 month process to getting an approval. And then you're a permanent resident of the U.S. Okay, so again, I want to encourage everyone to reach out to me if you have any questions, or to anybody at Holborn, whether it's your financial advisor or if it's one of the team in the immigration division, or you can reach out directly to me. Holborn is a full service financial advisory firm. So if you want to learn how this particular investment might fit into your overall, wealth management and financial management over for the future, I think your time is going to be very well spent having a consultation with either me or one of the financial advisors, because this is an investment. This money will be coming back to you. And also, you want to think about this is an investment in your family as well, getting them permanent residency and what the savings on, not just the savings on education, but that you'll get and it's going to be, the access to new opportunities for your family too. And for a lot of people who are living and working in countries that, maybe the currencies are not so strong, the ability to move to the US, have an investment in the US and start earning money in US dollars, and generating money in US dollars is quite attractive, I think. So please do reach out to anyone at Holborn, and we can schedule a private consultation, and we will, and I look forward to seeing you soon. So with that, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. Goodbye.